Astral ASOL has dominated the meta after the buffs, and even after the recent B patch, he's still an incredibly powerful endgame carry. In this video, I'll show you how to master the comp by going over the build, what items and augments they take, how to play the early, mid, and late game, what you do if you don't hit ASOL late game, and then I'll go over some in-depth positioning examples. The build is a little flexible as we have a couple of free slots, but here are our core units for the comp. ASOL is our main carry, and we are running Illaoi as our main tank and to give us more Astrals. Nami and Vladimir are in there to give us 2 mages and also 6 Astral. Lulu is in there to give us Evoker to ASOL and to also give us 2 Mystics. We will be aiming for 3-star Nami and 3-star Illaoi in this comp as well, as we can easily get that through the Astral trait. We have 2 extra slots at level 8, and what you add in depends on your augments and what the rest of the lobby is playing, but almost always you want to add in 1 more mage unit. A standard level 8 version of the comp looks like this, where you add in Heimer for Trainer and Ornn for Bruiser. Note that you only run Heimer late game if you have stacked up Nomsi to 3 or 4-star. You run Zoe over him in cases where you haven't stacked Nomsi. Another common variant is this, where you add in Silas and Zoe, and if you have Mage Emblem on ASOL, this is the ideal level 8 comp. There are many other variations of the comp, but I'll talk more about that in the late game part of the video. To first understand ASOL items, we need to quickly take a look at his spell. After 18 seconds, he will deal 15% more damage, which is a lot considering that it's multiplicative. Additionally, his black hole covers the entire map after 18 seconds, and that will wipe most boards. ASOL is our main carry, so we prioritize making items for him first. He has 2 core items, and that is Gunblade and Archangels. Gunblade is core as this allows him to heal up our limited frontline, which lets us stall into his ascension stage. When he has ascended, he will deal a lot of damage and heal for a ton, and since he's a dragon, he has a large HP pool and is surprisingly tanky. And Gunblade will let him repeat cast towards the end of the fight. Archangels is also core as it fits incredibly well into ASOL's kit. Since he wants to stall for 18 seconds to ascend, at that point, he's gotten a ton of AP from Archangels, which allows him to wipe boards towards the end of the fight. The third item for ASOL wants to be another damage item. He only has 60 mana, and we are running Evokers, so a mana generating item is not necessary for him. These items want to be JG, GS, Morello, or Deathcap. You make whichever one you can out of these, and you will do fine with all of them. Here are some final builds for ASOL, you pick whichever one you can out of these. After you made ASOL items, you want to make Illaoi items. Here are a tier list for her items. She wants standard ones, but some tank items are better than others on her. Notably, Stoneplate is the best one by far, as you have few tanks in this comp and therefore get a ton of defensive stats from it. Other items that are great for this comp are Zz'Rot, Ionic Spark, and Static Shiv. Zz'Rot is great to get more frontline, as this comp lacks that. You put this on the other tank you're running besides Illaoi. Ionic Spark goes on the other tank as well, and Static Shiv goes on your highest attack speed backliner that is not ASOL. Both Shiv and Spark are fantastic to shred resistances and to make ASOL deal more damage. They use rod and tier components though, so be a little careful before making them as you need 3 items for ASOL. Since we are all in on ASOL carry unless we get Zoe 2-star, aura items like Chalice, Zeke's, and Banshee's Claw are great to buff him up even further. Put these items on Lulu for a quicker cast on her to buff ASOL's attack speed even more. But again, remember that the number 1 priority is getting 3 items for ASOL, and you also need tank items on Illaoi late game to not get ran over. So think twice before you slam multiple of the extra items mentioned here, even though they are great for the comp. If you get a spatula, you want to build Mage Emblem on ASOL every time. This opens us up easily to play 5 Mage at level 8, and it also makes ASOL deal a lot more damage. You build Mage Emblem as the 3rd item on ASOL. If you already have 3 items on ASOL, Mage Illaoi is not bad, so that is also a solid option. The best augments for this comp are Axiom Arc, Cybernetic Uplink, Evoker Harder Emblem, Exiles, First Aid Kit, Mage Harder Emblem, Meditation, Mystic Harder Emblem, Second Wind, Ascension, Blue Battery, Essence Theft, Intercosmic Gifts, Jeweled Lotus, Mage Conference if you get it on stage 2-1, Portable Forge, Trade Sector, and Earth's Grab Bag. I mentioned a lot of augments there, and the best ones out of those are Mage Harder Emblem, Second Wind, Ascension, Blue Battery, Jeweled Lotus, and Earth's Grab Bag. If all of that was a lot to take in, then check out the cheat sheet for this comp. It's available for patrons and YouTube members. Here is the Corky cheat sheet, so that you know what to expect for the Astral ASOL cheat sheet that is available right now. The carousel priority for this comp is Rod, Tier, Belt, and Chain. The best opener is to have Astral Mages. Although Astral is not crucial in the early game, it's still nice to get an early Vlad or Nami 2-star, and it also allows us to get an early Illaoi as well. Some other openers that also work are Jades with Ezreal or Karma carry, Lilia carry with either a Swift Shot or Warrior backline as secondary carries. I also like to pre-level to 4 on 1-4 with this comp, as the best item carriers for ASOL is Lilia and Ryze, and we get higher odds of hitting those if we pre-level. During the early game, you can make any items for ASOL, and you also want to make items like Spark, Shiv, and Sunfire, as those are really strong in the early game. Since we are playing around a 10 cost legendary, we need a lot of HP to fast 8 with this comp. Therefore, we can never open for it, and we also need to preserve as much HP as possible by playing the strongest board and slamming items. Your early game strategy will depend a lot on how good your opener is. In some games you play for a loss streak, and in some games you play for a win streak. And if you want to learn more about how to play the early game, check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. After the Kreg's round, you should have more direction towards a comp. The general requirements to play ASOL is to have at least one component for Archangels and another component for Gunblade. The units we have matter a little, as we want to generate gold through Astrals, and we also want to make the transition into the Astral ASOL comp easier. If you are weak in the mid game, you can roll at either stage 3-2 at level 6 or on stage 3-5 or 4-1 at level 7. Before you roll at either of those points, make sure to have at least 3 Astrals in on the previous turn, as you will not get Astral Shops if you put it in on the same turn when you are rolling. When rolling at level 6, you want to look for a mage board similar to this, where you're running Ryze or Lilia carry. Since you pretty much need Astral in to get closer to Nami and Illaoi 3-star, you have to run 3 Astral, and therefore it doesn't make sense to play any other boards. So if you hit a lot of Anivias or other champions that use AP items well, you can just pivot into those comps from there. When rolling at level 7, the same rules that applied to level 6 applies here as well. Roll for a mage board like this, where you use either Ryze or Lilia as the carry, and chase Nami and Illaoi 3-star during your roll down. During the mid game, it's also important to scout. This is so we can see how many other people are playing Astral ASOL. This comp can only support 2 people, so if you see more than that going for it, you either gamble that you'll hit a 1-star ASOL, or you pivot into another comp like Mage Reroll, Anivia, Deja, or one of the other 10 cost dragons. On stage 4-1, you want to be level 7, and from here you have 2 different options. You can either roll at level 7, or you can go for a fast 8. Going for a fast 8 is always preferred, as we can't hit our main carry at level 7. But sometimes, if you are too weak, then you just have to roll at level 7 to not bleed out fast. The games where you roll at level 7 are when you're 60 HP or lower, you're loss streaking, you can't go level 8 on 4-2 and roll there, or if a lot of other players are rolling down here as well. When rolling down at level 7, you once again want to hit this board while also chasing Nami and Illaoi 3-star. If you decide to fast 8, the goal is to end up with this board. Again, only play higher in the late game if you have Namsi stacked up. If not, then just ditch him for a better mage. We can change our board based on our augments. If you get +1 mage, you play 5 mages. You can also drop down to 3 mages and play Bard and Silas over Heimer and Auron if there is a lot of magic damage in the lobby. And if you get +1 evokers, go for 4 evokers with Sona. If you don't hit ASOL in the late game, you want to play around Ryze carry. At stage 5, Lilia can't carry hard enough, so we can't run her at that point. In that case, the level 8 board looks like this. You are almost always playing a Ryze reroll here, but you're donkey rolling for a 10 cost instead of 3-star 3 costs. You can also pivot into Aoshin or Shyvana if you hit them. Of course, you'd rather play ASOL, but they are all AP dragons, so you can easily chuck your ASOL items onto them and still do fine. The Aoshin board wants to look like this, where you play 4 Tempest, and the Shyvana board wants to look like this. Note that none of these 10 cost boards are optimal, as we are still in the ASOL waiting room, and we are also running 3 Astral. You can fully pivot into them though by removing the Astrals. Once you hit ASOL 1-star later, you want to evaluate your situation before you make the next move. ASOL 2-star is very hard to hit at level 8, partially because he has a 10 cost and it costs 30 gold to 2-star him, but there's also just a 4% chance for 5 costs at level 8. Therefore, if you have high HP and gold, you almost always want to push level 9 to have a higher chance of hitting ASOL. But sometimes it's okay to keep rolling at level 8, as sometimes you get lucky, and you'll still be able to 2 and 3-star the rest of your board at level 8. If you are able to go level 9 with a lot of gold, the most capped version of the comp looks like this. It's pretty expensive, but if you have a high roll game, this is what you aim for to get first place. First, let's cover the impactful spells we have. ASOL's targeting is somewhat random. You can't control where he ults, but your opponent can't spread out his team to make his carry not get hit by the spell. so there's nothing we can do to control where ASOL ults, therefore we just put him anywhere where he is safe. Lulu targets the closest units, and we want her next to ASOL to protect him against enemies coming down, and also to boost his attack speed. Auron targets the farthest away unit, so put him on the opposite side of the enemy carry. Zoe has multiple spells, but if we are playing her, make sure to corner her like this next to ASOL. This is to get max value out of the Lux Laser and the Janna Tornado ultimate. Silas always has 3 mage active if you're running him. He will mono-rave all units within a 2 hex radius, so put him in the middle of your frontline like this to make sure that enemies wrap around your frontline within 2 hexes. With all that said, let's move on to general positioning with this comp, which looks like this. Here we have Alawi as the most exposed tank, as she is the tankiest, and we will protect Auron a little to make sure he ults. ASOL is in the corner to stay safe, and Lulu is next to him to boost his attack speed. Heimer and Nami are in the other corner to not steal the attack speed from Lulu, and to bait out the farthest away CC on the other side. If you're running Namsi late game, she is very tanky and will deal a significant amount of damage, so position her wherever you can get the best ultimate angle. Now let's move on to some in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, the big threat is Deja. We are shifting our frontline more towards the left side to make sure Nuda doesn't walk down to our backline. We make sure the Hecarim ults the Auron, resulting in ASOL not getting CC'd. Deja will not ult the ASOL with her spell, as we are clumping more towards the left side. We're also making sure that Yasuo doesn't dash down to our ASOL by making him walk down to the Auron and dashing left towards the rest of our frontline. Against the second guy, the big threat is Corki. Vladimir is positioned to tank a lot of the AoE damage coming in from Corki. By splitting him off from the rest of our frontline, we are making them stay alive longer. Namsi is positioned to ult the Idas, and angle her ult towards the Corki as well. Auron is positioned to slow down the Corki. Heimer and Nami are positioned to bait out the Sona spell to keep ASOL safe. Against the third guy, the big threat is Anivia. We have put ASOL alone in the right corner. This is to make sure he doesn't get hit by Bard or Anivia. Namsi is positioned to ult the Nico and hit the entire backline. Auron is positioned to slow down the entire backline. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want cheat sheets for any of my comp guides, they are available for YouTube members and patrons, and links to those are down in the description. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.